Alright, what is going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I'm actually really excited for this video because this is the first time I've ever been able to do something like this, and it's entirely because of all of you guys. So I'm very excited to be able to do something like this. So you guys know, at least I'm pretty sure you know, if you don't know, this is your notification for it. We are going to be doing a 500 wheel horsepower capable short block giveaway for you guys. I'm excited for it. It goes live this Friday with the merch drop. So every $25 you guys spend, I know it's a little bit high. I'm a small YouTube channel, okay? I'm doing what I can to help you guys out while you guys support me. So I'm doing what I can. But for every $25 you guys spend, you guys get one entry into winning a 500 wheel horsepower capable short block that I'm going to be building here on the channel for you guys to watch. We're going to disassemble it today, see what the failure was, which I already know what the failure was. I took this engine out of the old car. Cylinder 2 and cylinder 4 coil packs backed out, so I'm pretty sure it killed the bearings inside, either on the rod or the crank. We're going to find out today. So we're going to get that short block on the table right there, completely disassembled, torn apart, get it packaged. It's going to be sent down to Outfront Motorsports on Monday with my 4G63 actually, to go get completely refreshed for whoever the winner is. We're going to be building that short block with a set of Manley Pistons, Manley Rods, a brand new OEM nitrated crank, King bearings. I'm just excited to do this. So I'm still waiting for my harness to come in for Big Bertha over here. It ended up going down to California when I bought it from Oregon when it's supposed to come to Washington. I don't know why. So this is the engine that someone is going to be winning. Now I know what you guys are thinking right now. Ew, Tanner, that thing looks disgusting. Why would anybody want to win that? You guys remember what we did with Karma's old engine? The same thing is going to be, well, it's going to be cleaned and everything like that. This one we are going to be staying with a semi-open deck on this because for 500 wheel horsepower, we don't need a closed deck design, and right now that's just a little bit outside of the budget. So rods, pistons, crank, new bearings. This thing will be good to go for 500 wheel horsepower for whoever wins it. This is like the first, and we're offering these. I'm actually going to be building short blocks and selling them to you guys because so many people have asked me in the past that we're finally going to do it. So I do have them added on the website. The short blocks won't go live until Friday, but if you guys want to go peep the website and go take a peek, you definitely can. So first things first, for getting this thing disassembled, we're going to get everything off of the outside of it. I already have the oil pump unbolted. I just need to pop it off of there. We need to pull the pistons out of the cylinders on the back side. We need to get the air separator oil plate guy off of there, this access panel off of there to be able to get to the wrist pins. Then we're going to split all this apart and get this thing going. This crank's not going to be used. Whoever put the clutch on this old car completely demolished that crank. So like I said, everything's going to be new. Everything's going to be fresh for whoever wins this engine. I'm very excited for this. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get these studs off of the back of this engine here. The way that I like to do it is I just use two 14mm nuts. You tighten them down against each other, and then you can use the leverage of the nuts to pull the studs out. So let's get these studs out. We'll get this thing set up on its butt, get that oil pump off, get the access panels off, and let's start getting this thing split apart.
Played the fucking Grinch in the movies. I've been a part-time shadow cat, part-time. That is not a guy that I would ever want to try to battle rap. Snap, crackle, pop, mind fried to a crisp, make an MC into a wide-eyed lunatic.
So now we have the back disassembled for the most part for what we need. So these little plug holes here right there behind this air separator or the oil separator plate, there's these little access panels. You can see the rod in there. So this is how we gain access to be able to knock the wrist pins out from the rods to be able to separate the rod from the piston. I just wanted to get the back done so that way I could set this thing up on its butt here, so that way we can start disassembling the front. So let's get this thing flipped over, knock over to the front. We'll get the rest of the access panel plugs out of this so that way we can pop our pistons straight out of here. Also, just as a side note, whenever you do go to take these Phillips head screws out, please use an impact driver if you're doing this on your own. Otherwise, you're just going to strip them. Ask me how I know. I learned the hard way. See, look at that. Now we can just set this block right on its butt as it pees oil out. Yes, you pee that oil right out. So cylinder 3 feels fine. What about you, cylinder 2? Goodbye oil pump, you are going to trash. Garbage old oil pump. Pull our access plugs off here. Yeah, the thing rips them right out. Beautiful. So we've got this thing pretty much ready for the pistons to come out at this point. So all of our access panel plugs are removed. So if I grab this flashlight right here, you guys can see right down in there is our wrist pin for the rod to piston. Same on that side. So the way I like to do these is I'll pull out these wrist pin clips from right here. I'll rotate the crank. I don't have a crank bolt. I thought I had a spare crank bolt laying around. I don't have a spare crank bolt laying around, but we're not reusing this crank for you guys anyways. So I'm just using a pair of adjustable guys right there to be able to rotate the crank. It spins freely, so I actually don't think this block was all that screwed. All I was told from the previous owner is that it was knocking. I actually don't know. I don't see any signs of knocking. We'll check bearing wear once we get this thing torn apart, but so far everything seems fine for the most part, weirdly enough. So it could have just been like a rattling coil pack that was extremely loud, but it turns over like just fine. Like if I stick this guy on here, like just fine, it turns over. So that's fun. So let's get these wrist pin clips out. We're gonna build it regardless. So let's get this thing torn down. Let's pull out some wrist pin clips. So we can go ahead and grab number 1, or this is technically number 2, 1, 2. Grab cylinder number 2. It's like, okay, well that fell out into the oil pan. I can see it right there. So that one's gone. It's all right, as long as it's off. That's all I really care about. There we go. That one is also out. So we've got those 2 out. I can actually grab it right there. I see that one. Where do I gotta move you? Oh yeah, I gotta rotate you. Gotta rotate you here, friend. Don't mind me. There's one wrist pin that just popped out. Here's our other 2 wrist pins. Wrist pin. Wrist pin clip. Now, I'm gonna poop that guy out. Poop that guy out right there. Poop him out. I heard him poop out. Nah, there we go. There's that wrist pin clip, or that wrist pin. So both of our rear wrist pins are removed. Now we gotta rotate the crank, do the same thing to the front. Pop them out. Pop them out. 1. All of our wrist pins are out. Which means I can push all these fucking pistons out towards the end of the bore. Now watch, you guys will see these pistons just kind of pop out. There's multiple ways of doing it, it's just the way I do it. So I go in here, I get up to the piston, like that. Give her a couple love taps, just like that. I can get a flat head on the gap in the piston ring here. Just pop it out. And there is one of our pistons. We're gonna inspect all this after we get them all out, so that way we can inspect them to see what exactly happened here, but cylinder 2 looks just freaking fine, dude. That looks beautiful. So as these pistons come out, if you're doing this, you can rotate this piston ring to get it wherever you need. So I'm just gonna kind of put it right there so that way I can get this guy in here. And you wanna avoid like trying to pry off the decking surface. You can just literally just wiggle it out. And after the compression ring loses compression because it's not pushed into the cylinder anymore, this whole thing will just wiggle right out. Just be gentle with it. These pistons look freaking fine, dude. I don't see anything wrong with them so far. So, all of our pistons are out. We're ready to split this case. So to be completely honest here, I actually don't know why this thing blew up or if it's even blown up. Like, cylinder 4 has no play in the rod bearing. Look at that, and the crank still spins freely. There's no damage to the cylinder walls, there's no cracks, there's nothing. Like, I don't see anything really wrong with this case hab set. I never got a chance to hear this engine start up, so hell, dude, I don't know what exactly happened. I was just told to replace the short block, so I replaced short block, but interesting. Let's get this case hab set split open now. So to get this thing split apart, there's a lot of bolts to go around the outside of it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if you look inside of the cooling jackets, there's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's more in these cooling jackets. There's like 20 or so bolts. So let me just go through, start ripping all these bolts out. Once all the bolts are out, then we're gonna have to start splitting this case in half. That can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. It's not terrible to do. You just gotta fight with it a little bit and be gentle because you don't wanna score any of the mating surfaces up in here. So let's start pulling all these bolts out to get this case split in half. Weirdly enough, as I'm going through taking this engine apart, everything seems fine. Like, I haven't seen anything that's like out of the ordinary, out of the blue. This is damaged, this is broken. Everything seems intact. We'll figure out, we'll take a look at the bearings once we get this thing split in half, but the case is ready to be split in half. So on the table here, I have our 4 pistons set out. I've got our 4 wrist pins. These are all of the case bolts. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 case bolts that go with it, the oil pump. So now that we have all of this off of the engine, we are now ready to split that thing in half. So the best way that I found to do this is I'm going to spin it around 180 degrees. I like to try to go at it from up here on the top and start to split it there, and then come down, follow it down, split it there, come down right here, and then do the bottom. The easiest way I have found to do this is using something small, metallic. Very careful, you might be able to use plastic if you're gentle enough, but I'm just gonna use a paint scraper. That's what I've used in the past. I've never had any issues doing it that way. It doesn't scuff anything up, as long as you're careful, as long as you're gentle. Once you're able to get the paint scraper in between the 2 case half pieces, then you can stick a flathead in there, like a small flathead, to be able to just keep the gap between the 2 case halves, and then we can just take a hammer and split them apart. So split this thing open, see what's inside. There we go, look at that. Oh dude, I think it's already free. There we go, baby. There's one of our case halves. Dude, everything in here looks beautiful, dude. All these bearings look fucking great. I haven't seen the other half of them yet, but all these look fucking wonderful. Weirdly enough, I see literally no damage to any of these bearings. This motor didn't have very many miles on it, and all of these bearings still look super fresh. Like, there's no scoring, there's no damage to the actual mains, like right there. Like, everything just looks beautiful. What the hell? Like, even on the crank, there's absolutely no damage to the crank anywhere. We're gonna get all these rods off, which the rods are gonna be a little bit of a pain in the butt to get off. They always are. We're gonna inspect the rod caps and the bearings on there because I wanna see if it was maybe a rod bearing failure, but all the rods felt beautiful. That's wild. Let me get the rest of these bearings out and check the actual block. Whoever's getting this is like a super fresh block still with literally no damage to it. Literally nothing. Bearing, 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 rear. Dude, even all the mains look solid. They all look beautiful. Ooh, found the source of the problem. It was rod bearing failure. So it's good news for us that engine had rod bearing failure. Just means the case halves are totally fine. The main issue was the rod, the crank. The crank actually looks fine too, but we're gonna replace the crank with a brand new one anyways. Scrap that one, maybe I'll turn it into a lamp or something, who knows. But let me show you guys this rod bearing failure because it's kind of cool. So right here we have all of our connecting rods. So this one was cylinder, so this is 4, 3, 2, 1, I believe is how I have them up here. Yeah, cylinder 4 took a good amount of beating off of this. So all of that area where you can see is a different color, that is worn. Oh Jesus, can we focus? That is worn bearing right there. So that will allow the rod to move a little bit because tolerances are being changed. And when tolerances change, things start to move, and that's when things can get destructive. So cylinder number 4, the cap on it actually doesn't look bad at all. It was just the main portion of the bearing on the rod. The cap itself looks totally fine. So here we have cylinder number 3. It also took a decent amount of beating. As you guys can see, all the worn bearing material off of it. Cap doesn't look nearly as bad. The cap has some micro pitting in it from where the bearing started to wear down, but for the most part, the cap on 3 looks fine. It looks like it's just cylinder 4 rod bearing failure on this engine, which, dang, it sucks. Sucks to suck. We're gonna build it better. So cylinder 2 also took a decent amount of beating. You guys can see all the worn material off of cylinder number 2's rod bearing. The cap on it looks, for the most part, pretty fine. Just like cylinder number 3, there's some micro pitting on it, but for the most part, it's pretty clean. And then lastly, we have cylinder number 1, which actually looks pretty decent for compared to the other ones. You can see that bright line right in the middle of it. That's really the only damage on cylinder number 1's rod bearings. Aside from that, the cap looks pretty solid on it too. So bearing failure, real doozy. So we're done disassembling this EJ25. What we need to do next is prep it for shipping. So what I like to do is I like to clean up the case halves a little bit more, just so out front's not getting some super oily, greasy case halves that we're sending them. I'm just gonna put 2 or 3 of the case bolts back in just to hold it together. We're gonna get it all cleaned up, wiped down, and then set it aside. I'm gonna run over to Lowe's or Home Depot with Melanie tonight. We're gonna go grab a big box and a lot of packing material to be able to mail that thing down to out front. The 4G63 I need to prep to go down to out front also. So we're gonna do a little bit of engine prep real quick. Get this thing ready to be sent out and that 4G63 for the Evo, just so that way, I mean, 2 birds, 1 stone. We can just knock out both of the motors. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing prepped. Piston, 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 oil pump, bearings, rod, thing, wrist pins, rods. The plugs, I will keep these plugs. Those are good to keep. Case half bolts, you know, I'll keep those for just random stuff that I'm doing. Boop. Boop. Boop, boop, boop. Crankshaft. Take you. We'll put you right there. We take you. We set you right on top. And then we take a couple bolts. And just bolt it back together to keep it in place. There we go. Look at that. Hey. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm definitely gonna need some more, but. So we've got our EJ25 disassembled, cleaned, ready to go, ready to be sent out. Next up is the 4G63. So Melanie, I'm gonna wait for Melanie to come home. Her and I are gonna go run over to the shop. I need to grab the pistons. So I'm gonna be getting the pistons for the EJ from out front because they need the pistons to be able to bore the cylinders true, which means it's a perfect circle. It is true to the piston that we're using. So I need to go pick up the pistons for the 4G so that way they can do the exact same thing. Just so that way when they're machining it, they can make sure everything is nice, true, absolutely perfect. So we're gonna go run over to the shop, run over to Home Depot, grab some boxes, grab some packing material. We'll get these things sent out like bright and early in the morning actually. Okay, so it is the next morning. Both of the engines are packaged up, ready to go. I'm about to go drop those off at UPS right now. Both going on to out front, both getting remachined. I want to get that EJ down there and the 4G just so that way we can get both of them going. There is one change on the EJ block build. Instead of Manley, we are going to be using CP pistons, which in my opinion is a little bit better anyways. But for legality reasons, there's one thing because I've been setting up like the whole legal side of all of the giveaway stuff and whatnot. Giveaway is only applicable to US citizens. I guess I can only do it in the United States right now. Rhode Island is also excluded because don't blame me, blame your state. They won't let me do a giveaway with anything over a value of like $500, so that one's not me, it's the state. And if you don't have an EJ and you are entered into the giveaway, even if you do win the EJ, you can do whatever you want with it. You want to sell it, you can sell it. You want to use it as a coffee table, you want to blow it up, you can do whatever you want with it. Totally up to you, it's gonna be your engine. But that's all I got for you guys on this one. If the time comes where I can tactically acquire an FA block, maybe we'll do an FA1 in the future. That's all I got for you guys on this one. If you guys are excited for the potential chance to win a 500 wheel horsepower capable EJ25. Snag some awesome merch like zip ups. We actually have zip ups now. Everyone's been wanting zip ups for so long. I'm finally doing zip ups. It's really all I got for you guys on this one. Engine harness for that one comes in today. Wheel bearings for the Evo come in today, so I'm gonna be going over to the shop tomorrow to start working on the Evo, do some of that stuff. Testing the electrical system on this today to make sure that everything is good and Gucci on that. So, if you guys like the video, you know what, do go and hit that like button, turn a black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver sign, whatever color it turns for you. And those sirens are loud. But anyways, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you want to be, I'm not gonna tell you to do it. It's one of the corners. You guys know the dealio, the drill on that. So with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.